lost cause by a long shot, they don't particularly care for the current trajectory of their efforts. We are hiring you because you have the ship, the means, and the inclinations to carry out what we require. Now, are you able to accomplish this simple task, or shall we stop wasting my client's time? Came the cool, if increasingly irritated, distorted voice over the comms. The captain let out a deep sigh as he sat back in his chair and rocked a couple of times. I'll have to have access to the old transportation network. Granted, replied the voice succinctly. I believe I'll also need authorization to deal with individuals who make themselves a nuisance, the captain said with a small grin. There was a pregnant pause before the reply came sternly. Granted. But don't you dare go overboard. We don't need another Natari 5. And my fee? He replied with a raised eyebrow, uncaring about the demand made. You will be paid once the assets are in our possession, the reply came firmly. What about their condition? Should these assets be dead or alive? Pressed the captain after a small huff. Alive. No disintegrations. The captain rolled his eyes. Obviously. Otherwise, you wouldn't be receiving anything. Your track record dictates detailed instructions are sometimes necessary, Captain, growled the voice. So don't play coy. The captain chuckled at that. Half now. The other half on delivery. That's not how we normally do things, Captain, the voice replied after a moment's hesitation. You know this as well as I. Don't start being difficult now. And yet, that's what it's going to take to have my crew and I involved in your client's affairs, the captain replied in no uncertain terms. Don't play me for a rookie or a stupid common mercenary. You wouldn't be so insistent on acquiring my services if you had another better alternative. You'll play by my rules or there won't be any deal made. I know my worth very well. There was a long pause that seemed to go on forever before the voice returned. Fine. Transferring the credits now. You walk a dangerous line, Captain. Always do, he chuckled in victory. Payment received. Congratulations, the Silent Runner is at your service. I'll contact you once we have the assets, said the captain with a pleased smile. Very well. Good luck, Captain. Do not fail us, were the final words spoken before the transmission was cut off. The captain began to rub his temples when he heard a knock on the hull frame behind him. Enter. How are things with your old friend? Teased a woman in full armor as she entered the bridge. Myra. He's still not my friend. It's a job, replied the captain, who swiveled in his chair to make eye contact. Of course, sir, Myra said with a grin. So when do we leave? Choosing to ignore her first comment, the captain narrowed his eyes and continued on. As soon as Ada has finished making her final system checks and Kartok is done stowing our gear and supplies, please inform them to let me know when we're ready for dust-off. Aye, Captain. Instead of leaving, Myra moved deeper into the bridge and leaned up against the co-pilot's seat. All jokes aside, what are we looking at? You didn't sound pleased. Apparently someone has done something to upset the cosmic balance of the great game nobles play. My problem is that the details the client gave us are too vague. The target is simple enough, but they're leaving us blind as to what we'll be facing. Myra frowned as she listened. You suspect we're just a distraction? The captain breathed through his nose as he thought about her question. I don't know. We'll need to infiltrate their networks once we get in range. I want more information. Dismissed. Myra nodded before giving a crisp salute. Aye, Captain. She quickly turned away to carry out her orders while the captain turned to a holomap of the Principality. So what's really happening there? His voice trailed off as he prepared their course. Dropping out of FTL, the ship Silent Runner powered down all engines as it gently coasted through the galactic void and scanned the immediate area. I hate long travel times, Myra. Plot a course for the nearest system, just close enough to tap into their networks. It's time we start pulling back the mask to see what we really got ourselves into. Yes, sir, came Myra's quick reply. You know, Nico, purred Ada, a tall, slim, and predatory feline alien. You might think of just asking more questions next time. It might cut down on all the homework we have to do later. And just get lied to for my trouble? The captain, Nico replied with a grin. Besides, where's the fun in that? The rest of the crew shared tired glances and rolled their eyes as the ship came back to life and shifted to its new course. It didn't take them long before they were within range of a comm buoy. Captain. We're in, Kartok said with a smirk. Their security measures really are abysmal. We have full access to their primary communications network. It looks like there are some encrypted military networks that will take a bit more work, though. Shall I proceed? Maybe later. For now, run a search on a certain Wyatt Staples. If the small amount of intel I got on him is to be believed, he should be rather prominent in news feeds of late, Captain Nico ordered. Ada, you run a search on his family. I need to know what system they are in, and more importantly, which house's territory that is. And Myra, I want you to run a search on what is happening in the Principality in general. Myra gave Nico a sideward glance and raised a curious eyebrow. Has it really been that long since you've been back? That's the thing about home. Usually things stay the same, but then suddenly, everything can change in an instant. I want to know how much this cesspool has changed to the point that our client believes they need a former resident, he said, not actually answering the question as he left the bridge for his private quarters. A silence soon took over the bridge as the small crew each got to work on their respective tasks. As the pieces of information were slowly gathered, and the fog of war began to lift, Nico went over each data point as they arrived. His eyes narrowed as he stared at a picture of this Baron Staples. A smile tugged at the corner of his mouth as his mind processed one article, news piece, or publicized ceremony after another. My. Things have indeed changed, he started with a small huff of laughter. Not in my wildest dreams would I have thought any Astor would have raised up a commoner like this, Nico added, while pouring himself a small glass of his favorite whiskey. Is it desperation to stave off defeat, I wonder? Or is something more at play? He hummed in thought as his eyes drifted to a picture of Wyatt during the crowning ceremony. To your future success, my lord. His words temporarily halted as he took a sip and savored the old flavors of home. I'm sorry we'll be forced to rain on your parade for a while. Closing his eyes for a moment, he sent a message to Myra to plot their next course. Once finished, he continued sifting through the information as it was sent. Some bits were discarded as it was quickly ruled out as unrelated individuals sharing the same name. Gotta love those ceremonies. So very helpful, the man mused as he continued building a picture of the man he was dealing with. His attention was grabbed by an old news article of a Drazan attack on some locals in and around their target system. Wanting to see for himself, he turned on his monitor and brought up all the pictures of the events. The scenes of carnage left behind by those monsters after the Navy mopped up were enough to turn most people's stomachs. Even his stomach tightened a bit at the brutality. Nico scrolled through the pictures till he came upon the one with the name Wyatt Staples written underneath in the survivors section. He quickly transferred it to a file where he then pulled his picture from the ceremony and dropped it next to the younger one. Switching to what he assumed was a doctored piece of propaganda, Nico pulled an image of Wyatt in his armor but without the helmet and added it to the growing collection. So you didn't let tragedy break you, eh, boy? Good. You have guts. I like that. And so he continued on through the day, slowly putting the puzzle together as he saw it. With a slow, steady pace, very mixed feelings, Myra was the first to speak up. With a grimace, she groaned, "What a dingy station. It's big, but hardly anything to write home about. Honestly, Captain, what do you possibly expect to gain from this place?" "Ooh, what's the matter, Myra?" asked Ada in a playful tone. "Should we take you to the capital to go dance with the prince instead? Maybe we can get you one of those fancy dresses the nobles here are so fond of that Nico has told us about." A roll of the eyes and a long sigh was all the reply Ada would receive from Myra before the captain chimed in, cutting off the back and forth. "Information on the movements of traitor houses." Kartok raised an eyebrow and asked, "Why would they give us that? Aren't we in Kayston territory?" "They are part of the traitor forces, are they not?" Nico nodded. "They are in traitor territory, yes. Except that one of Wyatt's exploits was a battle here at the station." "What did they call him? The Woodshaft Ace?" he asked rhetorically as he leaned back in his chair and tapped a few buttons on his console. Now, if you were a smallish station in traitor territory, but still willing to celebrate the enemies of that territory, my guess is they are friends of the Loyalists, or retain a neutral stance that they can back up legally. But while still in enemy space, I'd also imagine they'd be keeping close tabs on the traitors to remain free of them. Considering this location was on our way, it seemed fitting. I thought it might be a good idea to do a little more digging before we get stuck in. Kartok nodded. "Agreed. Who do you want to take with you?" "Probably just Myra," Nico said after some thought. "What?" Ada protested. "First chance I get to see what the locals are like, and you take the one person who doesn't even want to take advantage of it." We're trying to be subtle. Nico started with a shrug. And what can I say, Ada? You kind of stand out. He finished with a wink to his feline associate. She grinned for half a second before instantly switching to a frown and throwing out a clawed finger. Don't think you can sweet-talk me. I know what you meant, Ada huffed as she went back to monitoring her console. Fine, but you had better take me with you when we get planetside. Deal, Nico said with a small chuckle. Their back and forth was soon interrupted by the station tower inquiring as to their purpose. A quick conversation later, and they were directed to the appropriate docking tube. Myra. Load up a travel light. We don't need them thinking we're high rollers, the captain ordered with a grin. Aye, Captain, came the quick professional reply he got from his number 2. Car talk. Keep an overwatch. If things get dicey, you know what to do, Nico ordered. A smile spread across the man's face as he gave a quick nod. Yes, sir. His fingers began to fly across his keyboard when the captain shifted his gaze toward the last member of his team. And Ada. Man the shuttle. We'll need you ready if we need to make an impromptu exit, Nico said, eyeing the woman till she answered. Very well, Captain, Ada said, her tone dripping with sarcasm as she sat, her back straight as a board while she finished prepping her task. I shall stand by ready to save your skin again. That's my girl, Nico teased, to which Ada narrowed her eyes while pursing her lips in an attempt to hide how amused she actually was. With the assignments handed out and the ship shuttering, giving evidence they had docked successfully, Nico got up to finish getting himself prepped. It was time to see what they could dig up. While the silent runner had been docking, there was someone watching them closely on a monitor. They specifically requested to speak with me? Yes, sir, replied the representative nervously. But I don't have their transponder ID codes in our system. Should I capture them when they come on board? The man continued to silently stare at the strange ship pulling up to his station before finally responding. No, show them in. But take precautions. Last thing I want is a repeat of what happened with the anarchist Eradicator. You and me both, boss, came the quick reply before the communication died. Stepping into the docking tube, Nico and Myra waited for what seemed like a small eternity for the entrance to Woodshaft to open. When it finally slid open with a hiss and the slight scraping of metal on metal, the pair were greeted by a dozen guards with their rifles trained on them, as well as a representative. Whoa, Nico said, slightly raising his hands in surprise. I'm flattered, boys. I didn't think there would be such a grand welcoming party for little old us. The Woodshaft representative took a step forward and huffed. You never can be too careful these days, son. That'd be a rather fancy ship you got there for this place. And one we've never seen before. Could have been you was wanting to raid us like those damn Kastans. Or maybe some more Drazen who forget their get out and quit while they still could. So much said would need to be unpacked later, Nico thought to himself, before shrugging and holding his arms out in a non-threatening way. For now, he decided to just play it safe. We ain't with the Kastans or with the carrion feeders. It's just us, as promised. I just want to meet with Uriel Hoax as soon as possible, then we'll be on our way. The man nodded. The boss sent us. You caught his eye the moment you requested docking, but best you keep your weapons holstered, else we'll put you down like dogs. The man warned before gesturing the way to go with a turn of his head. This way. Nico and Myra shared a quick glance before following the station's representative. As they started to walk, he continued. You lot be welcome to visit the shops once you be finished with your business with the boss. Even give you a discount on the house. Most generous. I think we might take you up on that offer, Nico said cheerfully. Always good to stay topped off with fuel and supplies. The captain cleared his throat and continued. What was that you were saying about Drazen a moment ago? Did they really raid you all the way out here? I was kind of thinking those were just stories. Then you think wrong. Thousands of them came to make us their next meal, the guide said, suddenly sounding a lot more pleasant and excited. It was Princess Clara herself that came and saved us all. Her, them Royal Marines, and that crazy pilot of hers. The Woodshaft ace. Ask around. I'm sure there will be plenty of people able to show you vids of the battle. Never thought I'd see a blue blood risk their neck to save us lot, especially a royal blue blood. Nico frowned in thought as he processed each and every detail. That's quite the story. Glad to see you all made it through. The group then walked in silence through the station. Nothing about what was inside was having any positive effect on Myra. The place was just as unappealing on the inside as it was on the outside. The mismatched construction, as sections from many sources were brought together to form a strange amalgamation that still somehow functioned, almost made for a game where one tried to figure out which part was from what. And even then, function would be generous, as the dimly lit halls and thoroughfares all seemed as if they were on a rough hit away from shutting down. "You really do always take me to the nicest places," Myra said directly to Nico's mind, grateful she was still wearing her helmet, as she was afraid to imagine what the air must smell like. "Hey, you're the one who said you liked adventure," he jabbed silently through their implants. Eventually they arrived at a recently installed heavy blast door that separated them from Uriel's main office. It took a few seconds to get clearance, but eventually the duo was shown into the decontamination chamber, and finally Uriel's office. Nico took in the sight of the space, which was obviously, at least to him, a piece of an old cruiser. He allowed a small pause as nostalgia threatened to overwhelm him for a fleeting moment. "Take a seat," Uriel called, snapping Nico from his memories. "I'm afraid I'm a busy man and don't have a lot of time." The captain and his second moved with purpose to the seats he gestured to. "Thank you for seeing us." Nico started as he watched the man in front of him light up a cigarette with his trademark lighter. Uriel took in a long drag before exhaling it slowly, eventually waving off his guest's initial comment. "You can cut right to the chase. I don't require the fancy pleasantries of blue bloods. Who are you, and what do you want?" "My name is Culper. This is my second, Anna." Nico lied as easily as he was breathing. "We're looking for information. The kind blue bloods don't like to share." The eyes of the tall man in front of them narrowed. "A little vague. Can you be more specific?" Uriel asked before taking another puff from his cigarette. "Would you happen to know anything about Noble House's movements in and around Volantis?" Nico asked with a curious tilt of his head. "I'm not sure If that be the case, then I think we shall be on our way. My apologies for taking up your time," the captain replied before immediately moving to stand. "Sit down," Uriel commanded sternly, to which Nico stared, and Myra's hand twitched toward her sidearm, but didn't actually touch it. "Easy there, girlie," Uriel said with a sly grin. "You won't get very far with that kind of diplomacy." Turning back to the captain, he again gestured for them to sit. Nico slowly nodded, and they both resumed their seats. "I know of the world naturally. There are a few places gaining similar or more interest these days, but I'm curious. Who or what is your interest there?" Uriel asked, eyes narrowed. "Probably not the who or what you are thinking," Nico shot back. Uriel sighed but smiled. "Pretentious asshole, eh? Fine, have it your way. How about we play honestly, Culper? Starting with something simple like those helmets. Why don't we get a good look at each other before we start pretending we're friends, eh?" The pair shared a quick glance before Nico gave another approving nod. Taking off their helmets, Nico allowed a grin to form on his face while Myra remained expressionless and cold. "That's better," Uriel continued pleasantly. "Now that we are on slightly more equal terms, let us continue." He finished, looking expectantly toward the captain. "Very well. I'm looking for information on the movements or interests of nobles in major and minor houses loyal to Duke Draymore. More specifically, those movements and/or interests in Gimor territory and around Volantis, though the surrounding house territories would be helpful if you have them." Uriel picked up his cigarette again and relit it. "That's a lot of information on a lot of people, Culper. Information that, as you so correctly summarized, not many would be happy to know is up for sale. I want to know if anyone from that side of things is taking an interest in that planet," Nico pressed. A laugh escaped the lips of the station's administrator. "Oh, I'm certain there are plenty of people who may find Volantis, an unremarkable colony world, interesting as of late for various reasons." Nico's grin widened. "And here I thought we were trying to be honest with one another. Do you have the information I'm looking for or not?" He pressed further. Again, Uriel took a long drag from his cigarette, savoring the flavor before exhaling slowly. "I guess I'm more curious what you plan on doing with it." "Let's say there are certain assets on that planet I've been hired to ensure nothing bad happens to," the captain said cryptically with a raised eyebrow. Uriel stared at the pair for a long while as he tapped his desk absent-mindedly before finally straightening up. "The information you're looking for will take a bit of time to compile and verify, and it won't be cheap. What do you have to offer by way of payment? A casual shrug was given as an initial reply. Credits, rare elements, weapons, my services in trade, which I can supply once this assignment is completed. A snort of disbelief left the station's administrator. You might be dead and not able to pay if I opted for a trade of services if I wait that long, unless, of course, you're willing to do something for me first while I gather this information for you. I suppose it depends on what you have in mind. I don't have a lot of time, Nico said while crossing his arms dubiously at the proposal. Your ship may not be like the black ones currently roaming about in this succession war, but it is clear that you're not from around and you know how to fight. Can't pass it up. Uriel took another drag of his cigar before continuing. A simple escort mission is what I want from you. Uriel started with a shrug. The way I figure it, you've more than likely got a lot of hurt tucked away in that thing. Should be easy for someone like yourself. And the best part is that it's heading close enough to the general vicinity of Volantis. That should at least let you work your way over there. You just follow my cargo shipment to its destination and we'll call this trade square. A simple mission that pays for expensive information? Nico asked, eyes narrowed, unconvinced. Uriel shrugged. Look, I've been a little short-handed lately. I can send it on its own, but I have a feeling it won't make it without a little muscle. You provide the muscle, I give you the information you're looking for in a few days' time. It's a fair bargain, I think. Fair enough. Nico finally agreed with a nod. Getting out of his chair, he continued, When do you need us to leave? Uriel likewise stood up and walked over. Be ready to go in 4 hours, he said, offering a hand. Nico looked at it for just a moment before taking it up and shaking it firmly. We'll be there.